I probably need to rest my voice soon.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chris opening a package next to his microphone.
It's another ice cream sandwich.
Chat from the Deep, our weekly live stream post-session discussion. We talk about how many ice cream sandwiches Chris has eaten in the last month. This is the chat.
I got a box of 15, so it's gonna last.
So what's the over/under and how many we've
like
gone
2
through
a week?
so
like
far?
like
okay,
it's
okay.
Yeah, so they last me a while.
That's a while. There's a chat for session 44, so please go watch that session because there will be spoilers. I'm your DM, Eric, and joining me we have Gottwald's player Chris.
Hello.
Max player Raymond.
Hello.
How do we feel about our pirate ship battle part 2? This one was more of a traditional battle versus the big kind of naval confrontation.
Right. Yeah, we got through the naval part and got into the actual ship to ship. I did.
Well,
It occurred to me at one point early on. I was thinking like there are some fights that end up being defined by what the monsters can do, like their abilities define the fight, and there's some fights that are defined by what the heroes can do. And I feel like this was one of those fights. I feel like everything you were doing, everything we were doing, was being defined by our abilities that were being done to you, versus the things that you were doing to us.
You guys nailed the saves on basically 2 very big abilities, which was her using Dominate Monster.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, I think on you and then Savro, I think. And both of you ended up making the saves against that, which would have been a huge deal.
Yeah. That's an interesting one where like if that's, especially if that's like what the bad guy is like built around, like, oh, they're gonna mind control somebody. If they don't do it, then you're like, what? Okay, well, what now?
Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't actually have her spells. Yeah, she's got Dominate Person twice, which seems like her best thing.
Mm-hmm.
Blight is obviously very damaging, but it's only within 30 feet, so I couldn't do it till you guys got closer. I could have been firing off lightning bolts, but it's tricky not to hit your own people with lightning bolts, so I could have only probably used it near the end. And then I did give her to spell magic, specifically to try to take down the Sickening Radiance. But once I missed the first one, I was like, it feels bad to spend her turn doing that when she could be trying to do these like Dominate Persons and all those, which would be more effective and would be maybe another way of getting out of it. But yeah, I could never. I think 2 or 3 times I triggered Savra's concentration and never could get through it. So Sickening Radiance ended up doing some nice solid damage throughout.
Yep.
I thought about adding more enemies to the fight because it makes sense that there'd be more enemies like spawning in and joining it, but the way the fight was lasting and as long as the turns were going, I very quickly realized like this is actually going to be enough enemies for the party.
It would have just extended things. I don't know if it would have added any additional challenge, really.
Yeah. I guess
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
My whole goal last session of doing the whole anchor was to maybe avoid the fight on the ship.
Yeah.
I mean, would that have ever been a thing, or are we just too notorious of each side, the pirate side and our side, where the confrontation will happen no matter what?
It could have been. I did talk about that in my crafting stream, where it's like it's possible the party may try and successfully escape from this fight, in which case that could happen. So it's interesting that you did, and again, that was part of. This wasn't really a premeditated plan amongst the party. You were like, all right, I'm going to go counterattack, and you kind of did the anchor thing, while the rest of the party was like, all right, now we're going to like get in close to the ship and attack the ship. And the other thing is maybe the circumstances changed, where at first you're like, oh, let's cripple the ship and get away. But then once Savra gets that spell down, start doing a lot of damage, you start looking at the enemy going, actually, maybe we can just fight these guys straight up.
I mean, part of it was just not doing well last time and not succeeding in the anchor until the ships were next to each other. I mean, if
that's
it was,
true, yeah.
If I had succeeded in my stealth and hit the anchor right away, then it would have been more obvious that their ship stopped.
I think the way most of us on the ship interpreted it was that your anchor thing made the combat stable. Because I think what I was mentioning is otherwise
the ship would try to turn and re-pierce or do something, or aim, ship to where it can re-aim both of its ballistas. Instead, I basically kept the ship where it was and then you guys could kind of move around a little bit. And if you notice, they could only fire the one ballista like one time, basically, for that round. So yeah, I think it did matter in that context for sure.
It just changed, the plan.
Right, what you were doing with it. Yeah.
I kind of wanted to see you stay on the ship and just act like commando style, but I think having the radiation blast kind of changed that context. But I was also hoping we would get more of those ship-on-ship battles versus just the awkward, like everybody hurling spears at each other. But again, I think having that radiance on there and just having that stay on there the whole time, you guys are like, no, it's better for us to stay off the ship and just keep dealing that damage.
That's true. It's interesting because it was so effective for us, but it did kind of paint us into a corner of like, well, we can't go on the ship. Like, why would we? Like, it's irradiated.
Yeah, and
I didn't think it was awkward. I mean, that's how ship battles are, right? You just think each other from a distance.
Yeah. I did think at some point, man, should I hurl another like group of Yuan Ti on the ship so you guys can be more engaged?
Oh yeah,
like melee wise or something. So
on our ship, yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
But ultimately, I was like,
yeah, I thought about that at one point. Like, that's what I was doing with Zish or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like if someone comes on the ship, throw things at them, but nobody ever did.
Could I have done that? I didn't even pay attention to that.
Like you said, I mean, I think the battle lasted a good amount of time.
Yeah.
That's true.
The way it was, and
I totally
maybe if we were dominating, it might have helped make her seem stronger. But I think it just lasted the right amount of time.
Yeah, you guys. At first, I thought you were kicking my ass, but I did realize you came into the fight like halfway damaged, and then you ended up getting really damaged. And Sabo took a lot of damage and then went down with the blights. I was like, all right, I'm feeling a little better about this because I was worried at first that you guys were actually just destroying these guys left and right.
Yeah.
I did miss this, chat pointed out. I could have just used a higher level spell slot and dispel magic to dispel the whole fucking spell. That would have been a big deal. And obviously she would have known to do that, so that was just DM error. Completely. Yeah, I didn't realize I could just do it at a higher level because she definitely had the spell slots for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hardly used a lot of her, so I did both her dominate persons. I did one blight. That was pretty much it. I should have cast hold person, I guess, too, but she wasn't concentrating anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well. Not my best spellcaster run.
Spellcasters they're tricky to run. They're really tricky to run.
Yeah.
Like, because you can't pause and read through the spell list. Like
I know, I'm very self-conscious about taking too long, and with these fights already with a lot of people on the board, I'm just like, oh man, I gotta click through things, which is why I like somebody like the Nightmare Speaker who had like very like instant ability, like, oh, Spectral Fangs is a really good auto attack, we can do that, and then whenever somebody gets close, I'll use her one big cool Nightmare ability to try to lock them down.
Right.
Which you guys did legitimately. The Naga only had 100 hit points, which you guys legitimately did all that damage, and then the Nightmare Speaker, which was the second in command lady, still had a few hit points left when I triggered the Kraken thing. And honestly, the Kraken thing, sorry, I was kind of planning on doing that if the battle was too one-sided one way or the other. I was gonna have the Kraken appear, and it's like, oh no, here's the real boss battle.
Oh yeah.
But also in case you guys were like, all right, we can take the ship, we can have the ship now. Although I did consider like, well, I could give them this ship, and then that could have some interesting story implications. But then I kept thinking about the Naga thing, and then we kind of joked about it, and I was like, but that is going to be a weird aspect of having this Naga just like regenerate constantly. Yeah. And then I mentioned this other Yuan Ti on the crew, and I was like, this is late. I just want to.
Yeah.
This is a pain in the ass. So
just take the ship out of the equation.
Just take the ship out of the equation. Yeah. So I'm just going to trigger the Kraken thing. So it was always kind of in my playbook to have the Kraken in my back pocket as like this cinematic device, basically.
Yeah.
But then I felt bad about the loot. I was like, God, they didn't get any. Well, they get a lot of loot from the last place, but they didn't, or not. They got a lot of loot from the place 2 places ago. You got basically no loot from the last place, and then this one was like kind of a major fight that took 2 sessions. And I wanted to give you guys some loot, but I was like, fuck, you guys are nowhere. I thought we'd be more fighting on this ship, and you'd have gotten the, all up on the chest, but instead you guys hardly advanced anything on the thing. So I was like, how do I give them the loot? So that was an awkward thing on my part, where I'm like, I'm going to take you guys out of initiative and come up with a way to grab the loot, because I want to give it to you, but...
Right, but also
it's danger zone.
You guys
got to grab shit out, which ironically I think is what happened at the end of the styes, and you were also running from the Kraken grabbing loot, so...
Right.
Yeah,
And you
ultimately,
tell us we got the good stuff.
yeah. And I wanted to give you guys that stuff, which is literally between you all and me. It's the loot you missed out at the last dungeon. I didn't feed you different loot.
I mean, that's the way you do it, right?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get this regardless of
One of
what
them is
actually
literally
happened.
a cool custom magic item that I constructed that you guys totally didn't get at the last dungeons. I'm like, well, fuck it.
Right. We didn't grab any. I don't know if they had any. We didn't grab any loot off the enemies, like the actual boss Naga lady.
Well, that's kind of manifested as this treasure chest. Like
Oh, okay.
she's got
Okay.
it. Like she keeps it all in this like chest
It's
thing.
all
So you
there.
guys have got some.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, and you'll probably find a scroll of remove curse within that loot as well.
Okay, good.
Mm.
I did
Put me out of
mention
my misery.
I mentioned scrolls. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you said we're gonna get a long rest, so I assume it's gonna be maybe a couple days travel. So I was ready to make the rolls again,
Right.
but a scroll would be great.
Yeah, you've suffered enough rounds.
Yeah.
You get-
Honestly, the disadvantage hasn't been killing me that much.
No, it
the
hasn't.
move speed.
The movement.
move speed.
Yeah,
has been the
I noticed
killer.
that. Yeah, the disadvantage, you honestly power through it pretty easily, but the move speed has been nasty.
Yeah.
Having to dash constantly.
Right.
We forgot to do Sovereign's Lingering Injury. We're gonna have to remember that.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Put something about that. But yeah, this was a major big battle. That I just had to come up with what kind of enemies to throw at you, and I thought they did fine. The only problem is I had a bunch of brood guards on the ship, and I realized they don't have any range attacks, so they didn't have anything to do but run around and get hurt.
Yeah.
But you know, oh well. They were like manning the ship basically, so they just kind of there to get destroyed.
Right.
Everybody else took out bows and got their shots off, and then I had my little spellcasters. So
Yep.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a good, different kind of battle.
Yeah. So finally, from here, we can move to basically the place I thought we were originally going to get to, and then I added all of this stuff for you guys to tackle beforehand. With this other area, so that'll be fun
You
to work
mentioned
on that.
this is kind of where we start to get more linear.
Yeah, you kind of enter like that final act of like
Yeah.
we're going to be kind of done with the open world stuff and just doing the stuff one after the other as you get to that final gauntlet of events.
Yeah.
This is the part of the game where it pops up and be like, if you have any outstanding quests, get them done now.
Exactly. Yep.
We're going to be heading into one of no return. Any other questions, comments, or concerns about this session?
No.
Hope I didn't cough too much. It's been, I feel so bad.
Only at like key places that were funny.
Yeah.
Like during battles.
Yeah, certain words would really send me. Or if somebody really sent. The problem is I like to laugh.
Yeah, or somebody makes you laugh and then you just
and
lose it.
I really just go into a coughing fit if you make me laugh, which is
Yep.
the biggest curse of all. Cool. All right, I think that will do it for this chat from the deep. Thank you to Chris and Raymond. Thank you to all the wonderful fans for watching and putting up with my coughing, especially during all the crafting streams this week. I really hope I can get this shit figured out and come back with a much better throat next week. See you then.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, I'm all dark.
You are dark.
You've been dark this
You're-
whole time.
You're a ghost in the shadows.